What is up, you guys? Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to talk about my reaction on being in the podcast Fresh and Fit. I'm going to talk about my experience. How did I even get invited? How did I feel? What did I see? What's my take on it, on the topics that we talked about. And yeah, so let's start with how I got invited. So funny story. The day that I was evangelizing with some friends in Wynwood, so meaning I was we were praying for people in Wynwood, preaching the gospel. After we were done, we were like, let's all go get something to eat, right? We were starving. It was super hot that day, whatever. We decided to go to Chick-fil-A by North Miami. And the Chick-fil-A was hidden because I was searching for it and I couldn't find it. And I was really hungry, and so I was just like out loud. I was with my friend next to me, and I'm like out loud. I'm like, bro, where is this Chick-fil-A? Like, oh my gosh. So whatever. I said it so loud that I guess the guy that heard me answered the question for me. He was like, oh, the Chick-fil-A is over there. It turned out that guy that heard me was actually one of the, I guess, producers slash the people that they helped to get girls on the show. So when he answered me, he was like, oh, do you like podcasts? And I'm like, yeah, I watch podcasts. And he goes, do you know Fresh and Fit? And I go, yeah, I've heard Fresh and Fit. And he goes, okay, well, we're actually trying to look for, girls on the show. And would you like to be a part of it? And I freaked out because I've seen the show before. I've seen the clips, and every time I've seen it, I'm like, dude, like, I wish I can go on it and like speak my values, because I agree on some things and some things I don't, especially the part where it's like they don't agree in monogamy. They think like it's just not realistic, or like it's just not doable. And that's the part where I disagree, and I'll go into that more later on. But anyways, every time I see those clips and videos, I'm like, damn, like I want to give the truth. I want to give God's truth on that. So anyways, when he asked me, I'm like, bro, this is like my opportunity. Like at first I was like, oh my gosh, like this is freaking awesome. I didn't say that out loud, but in my head I'm like, no way that this is happening. So anyway, so I'm like, man, like, if I go, I would love to go ahead and preach the gospel to them, but I'm going to pray about it and see if I'm going to be on the show, so on the podcast. So anyways, he got my number, and I was praying about it for real, and honestly I heard silence from God. Like I didn't hear yes, I didn't hear no. I was just like and so then anyway, so a week passed by. He texted me the day before and he was like, hey, are you good? Are you confirmed? Are you gonna do it? And at this point I was freaking out. I'm like, dude, like if I don't do it, what if like what if this is a sign from God? Like, especially like the timing of how everything happened. It was the day that I was evangelizing and then afterwards I meet this guy, right? So it's just like, what if this is a sign? What if this is not a sign? What if this is just like, I'm gonna embarrass myself? Like, anyways, I was going through it. So my best friend's sister-in-law had been on the show before, so I had called her. I asked her opinion. She absolutely was like, girl, it's super intimidating, it's uncomfortable, like I don't know if you should do it. I would never do it again. So long story short, I did it, and she went with me. She actually went with me. She was complaining the whole time, but she went with me and she did it again. So props to her. She's amazing. I love her. Thank you, Fabi, for coming with me. Shout out to Fabi. But yeah, so I ended up going to the show. As you know, I'm obviously doing this video, but so yeah, so he was super nice. He was really respectful to me, the guy that set me up to be on the podcast. And as we get there, we already see the girls on the sofa down in the lobby. We sign in, and the producer Aaron comes downstairs. He gets us, and off the bat I can already feel like they already have like a bad view on you, like just kind of like a disgust, and honestly I don't blame them, only because they're surrounded with girls that don't respect themselves, a lot. So it's like that's what they mostly see. That's what their attitude is mostly gonna be projected to, right? So So I felt that vibe already off rip. Then we go upstairs. They had some ladies like, you know, serve us water, or others serve them alcoholic drinks, and made us sign papers. And you know, the whole team honestly was just respectful, and you know, there was no red flag there or anything like alarming. We had to sign a waiver, and yeah, so I came in with my Bible, and just in case, like, you know, like I needed to pop out a verse or, you know, whatever, I just had that with me. And we all sat down in the table, and the minute that Fresh and Fit came out, and then the two guest speakers, like, I was just like shut down. Like, when I saw the camera, the TV, like, I was just like, what am I doing? Like, I didn't feel like I'm spiritually prepared for this, like, and I honestly, I didn't feel confident. I didn't feel, I don't know, I really feel like I tried my best, but I wasn't prepared, honestly. But anyway, so yeah, so when they came on, I'm like, oh my god, like, what am I doing? Like, what is going on? Like, all these thoughts are literally running through my head. And like, I feel like when you see the podcast, like, you can tell that like my face was just like, I wasn't there. You know, I just tried to do my best I can. But anyway, so cameras were rolling, they were live, and yeah, it's just the way I feel that honestly, like, I feel like their podcast is, they say that, you know, they have the podcast to like teach women, like, you know, feminist values. And I do see that from Myron, because the way that he was moderating the topic and discussions, like, you can tell he was trying to dissect like what the girls were saying. He was replaying what the conversation, so he can understand, and then he would have his point of view bounce back. And you know, I can see that. But as far as like the guest speakers, like, Sneeko was like, all right guys, like, what cities do you guys know? You know, because he knows that a lot of girls are, you know, kind of dumb. You know, they don't know 3 cities, they don't know 3 countries. You know, they don't know. So it's kind of like, I wanna have a laugh out of this. You know, I want the audience to laugh at you guys, and I want the audience to know how stupid you guys look. You know, that's how it felt. So anyways, I feel like I'm going all over the place, because yeah. So anyway, so the other speaker, I think his name is Zyrtec or whatever, Zurek, I don't know, that one I really don't know. He's something else, but he's funny. You can tell he was trolling, you know, but at the same time, like, he needs therapy. Also, I was super nervous. Like, I messed up on a question when they asked me, do you believe sex before marriage? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, what? So I was like, no, I believe in being abstinent before marriage. My take on the whole monogamous and polynogous, my take on monogamous relationship is that God created Adam and Eve, right? He created one person for Adam. He didn't create multiple people. And the reason why in the Bible you see like King David, Solomon, like, they had all these wives, right? And in those times, you know, women that didn't have a man or a husband to take care of her, they ended up prostituting themselves, right? They wouldn't, no one really would take care of them, so that's how they would, that's what they would do to survive. And so God did allow that, but that doesn't mean that was God's intent or creation. So it's kind of like God doesn't intend for there to be like world hunger, or God doesn't intend to be cancer, but we live in a very flawed world, and it tends to happen. So yes, biologically we do have that. I mean, not we, because I'm not a man, but men do have that biological urgency to like sleep with other women. However, I don't think, like I've said in the podcast, I don't think that you have to act on those desires. So he said that it's super hard to not act it out on, you know, like this. He's like, this year is really hard to not act it out. But what I say to that is, you know, that's just a lack of faith that you have. Like, you know, to say, you know, I when I drive, it's just really hard for me not to crash to people, you know, and because it's just hard. Like, my road rage is just too high. You know what I'm saying? Like, every time I get angry, it's hard not to punch someone, you know. I'm sorry, I just punched the guy or girl, you know. My anger issues are just too high, you know. Like, no, like, that's not okay, you know. Like, I shouldn't be crashing to people and I shouldn't be punching to people just because I have a strong urge to do it, you know. Like, no, that's not God's intention, and that's not God's truth. God says, when you marry, you join one flesh, and the two shall become one flesh. So then they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let not man separate. This is Mark 10, verse 8 to 9. So I like that because it doesn't say, and the three should become one flesh, and the multiple bodies should become one. Like, it says, and the two, you know. So that to me says that God intends for man and woman to be together, and not man and wife and multiple, you know, multiple women to sleep with. So yes, so therefore I do agree that there is a biological urgency. I just don't think that you need to act on it. And yeah, a lot of the conversations were back and forth. A lot of the topics were like I said, it just didn't carry things. It didn't carry an opportunity for wisdom, and it's only because of the audience that they attract, because of the type of girls that they bring. Like, I promise you, if they start to bring women with value, and with women that actually, you know, respect themselves and, you know, desire to have more for themselves, I promise you their audience will change. And when their audience changes, the questions that they receive on their live chat are also going to change. So yeah, I think that they have a podcast based more like to troll, to, it feels more like putting down versus bringing them up, you know. And I think it's just because there's a gender difference there, and, you know, I feel like it'll be different if your own man, your own husband, your own boyfriend is like talking to you the way Myron was talking, like, hey, like, what you're doing is like messed up, you know, like putting you in your place. You know, it's different when there's like a stranger doing it in your face versus like somebody that actually has the best interest for you. So however, I do feel like if a woman is talking and giving advice on respect, values, and all these things, I think there would be a change in these women's that he's inviting, right? So, you know, I know that there has been stories where they come on to Fresh and Fit podcast and they're like, man, like, this podcast changed my life. Like, I'm no longer doing OnlyFans. I'm no longer doing this and that. And that's great. However, the majority, I don't feel like that's happening, you know. A lot of girls leave pissed off. A lot of people, you know, a lot of these women are writing like, you know, bad reviews, or they talk crap or whatever. And as for the men, like, they enjoy seeing that. They enjoy seeing women get pissed off, or, you know. And yeah, I just feel like they just have that perspective of like all women, the majority of women are like this. And it's like, he has a point in the sense of like, social media has ruined women, and women nowadays do have more ambition, and he's right on a lot of things in those type of topics. However, I feel like it's just exhausting, like, to be surrounded by that and talking about that all the time. However, I'm not him, so I can't say, but I feel like it is. And I feel like when you're surrounded by that, obviously that's all you're gonna see. Like, you're gonna be blind. You're not gonna be like, like, I don't feel like he has hope for women. I guess what I'm trying to say. Like, I feel like he's just like, all women suck, and every woman that I encounter is a freaking hoe, is stupid, and is just a girl boss. Like, I'm done. You know, I feel like he just carries that with him. And so, yeah, which is understandable, because he's always, like, most likely surrounded by women that have OnlyFans, that don't respect themselves, that just, you know, don't care about the future. And, like, so I don't blame him. I just feel like, bro, like, start changing your freaking environment. And that goes for Fresh, that goes for Fit, that goes for all the guest speakers that have gone to his podcast. Like, your group matters, your circle matters. And if you're constantly hanging out with people that don't respect themselves, you're gonna view that population as that, right? So, you know, it's like saying, like, you know, men suck, or men are players. Like, if I'm hanging out with players all the time, it's very normal that I'm gonna go out, and every man that I encounter, I'm gonna have that attitude towards him, because I'm constantly with players, right? So, I don't know. My advice on all of this is, number one, get advice from people who are actually married, and are happily married. If you look for marriages, okay, I would not suggest a Fresh and Fit podcast. If you actually really deep down want to grow as a man or as a woman, I highly suggest to, number one, read the Bible. That's number one. Number two, get plugged into a church, get surrounded by godly community. And number three, pray. I would say to pray. So, pray, because God says that He will fulfill your desires of your heart. Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. He will make your righteousness shine like the dawn, the justice of your cause like the noonday sun. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for Him. This is Psalm 37. So yeah, guys, I don't want to hate on the podcast. I really don't. I just don't think there's enough wisdom to make people grow, right? Because I feel like a lot of topics, like, it's just more of like a letdown. Like, you look stupid right now, and you guys are all hoes. Girls are stupid and gone. That's just the vibe, you know. Like I said, and I don't blame them for thinking that way, just because, again, they're always surrounded. But, yeah, if you guys watch Fresh and Podcast to get a laugh out of it, cool. However, know where you're getting your advice from. Look at the people's story. You guys are not taking advice from somebody that's homeless for money, right? You're not getting money advice from the homeless guy, right? So it's like, be mindful where you're getting your wisdom from. And it's questionable if you think you're getting wisdom from Fresh and Fit podcast. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that they're stupid. Never said that. I'm just saying that the women that they have, the guest speakers that they have, it's questionable. You know what I'm saying? It's questionable. So I don't know if they've had marriage guest speakers. To be honest, they may have had it. However, I feel like, based on the clips that I have seen in the past episodes, that's not the case. So yeah, that's my take on it. However, they seem pretty well set when it comes to money. So I think that will be a good take to listen on their financial advice. But when it comes to relationship, guys, I don't think that's gonna be your people's. I think that ultimately it's gonna be the Word of God first, and then anyone who can preach that would be a good influence to listen to. And number two, look at their lifestyle. Oh, that's another thing. Like, I don't know them. I don't know what they do in their life. I don't know anything about that. But one thing that I did notice is, I feel like they preach about, they were preaching so much about, like, virgins, like, if you're not a virgin, good luck on finding a good man. Like, listen, guys, like, I'm gonna tell you something right now. A true virgin, like, literally a woman right now at this age that had no sex, I'm telling you right now, they're not gonna be looking for someone like Fresh and Fit or like Sneeko and Zyrtec. Like, they want someone as pure as them. I don't, you know, the guy that was talking about a lesbian sucking his penis, like, I don't think a true virgin that had a 0 body count wants a guy that had a lesbian suck his penis. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, I'm just being realistic here, bro. Like, my whole thing is, like, they're not realistic as to what their desires, because they talked about partying, they talked about drugs, and it's like, the way that you live your life reflects on who the person you are going to attract. So if you think you're going to attract a godly or a holy, you know, just pure woman, feminine, and every time that you speak there's a cuss word that comes out, it's questionable. All I'm saying is they're not being realistic to what they're like. They're not walking the talk. Right? Is that the saying? Okay, they're not walk the talk. Like, so I disagree on when they say things like, oh, you know, it doesn't matter, I can have 20 or 50 body count, but, you know, my girl can't have 0. Like, bro, like, the girl that has 0 doesn't want the guy that has a 50 body count. You know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, so I do believe in redemption. I do believe that once you surrender your life to Christ, you are born again. And, you know, when you truly have surrendered your life to God, you change your ways. So hopefully, I just pray that the guest speakers, fresh and fit, that they surrender their life to Jesus, and they don't live in the worldly ways, to be honest. I think that can change a lot for their lives. Again, I don't know them, I don't know their relationship status, but based on what I've heard in the podcast, I don't think that they live a godly life. I think they still live in the world, and their decisions are going to be based upon that. So yeah, that's my take on it. I feel like I rambled, but overall they were super respectful towards the end. They made sure that we all got our cars, that we all got home safe. So yeah, I think it was just a podcast for, honestly, just laughs and giggles. But I don't think that, again, there was an amount of, like, I did learn a lot from the girls that were, like, debating nonstop, Pixie and the girl next to me, I forgot her name. But yeah, there were some smart women in the podcast. And I'm so sorry, guys. I'm continuing to pray to be bold in my faith. I wish I would have talked more. I really do regret it. I feel like I was like this. And I'm doing better. I'm trying to do better at speaking and being bold about my faith, because we need it. The world needs it. And yeah, so thanks for watching. Mwah.